we were just talking about movies, and Garrett J. love films. But speaking of, I guess this would be a biopic. Have you ever seen The Case for Christ?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Lee Strobel, right?
Lee Strobel's book? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've watched that several times. I love that movie. And I remember there's a moment in there where when he's like he's in it thick, like all his investigating and research, and he comes across, I'm not going to remember, but a guy who basically says, well, the greatest argument or the greatest proof for the Christian faith is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Yeah. So, what is the greatest argument for the Christian faith?
Well, far be it from me to go against the resurrection in any way, shape, or form. However, this is a common question that we often get in Q&As, and people want to know, like, what is that sort of silver bullet? Like, what is the argument that I should really focus on that help me to really engage my atheist neighbor, my agnostic friend, someone who's of a different religion or different worldview? What is that one argument that I should focus on? Obviously, to Jen's point, the resurrection is one that is incredibly important and significant for the Christian faith. In fact, of course, Paul said that if Christ was not raised from the dead, then basically everything that you believe is just foolishness. So the argument for the resurrection is important. We also have some other arguments that are vitally important. For example, the cosmological argument, or the more modern rendition of it, is called the Kalam cosmological argument. And this deals with the existence of God, not necessarily of Christianity, but of the existence of God through the idea or the notion of causality. Another one that's vitally important is the moral argument. Now, this is one of my favorite ones because everyone, almost every day of their lives, think of things in terms of what's good or bad, what's right and what's wrong, right? So the moral argument looks to the fact that there's a universal moral standard that provides an objective standard for how we can appropriately adjudicate between what's good and what's evil. And therefore, the reality of this universal moral law implies and necessitates the existence of a moral law giver, hence God. Okay, so that's in a nutshell, that's the idea of the moral law. I love talking to people about that, again, because it's a universal concept that we all know well. And then, of course, there's a teleological argument. Now, for you folks out there who are more mathematically or scientifically inclined than I am, I love you. That is not how God made my mind work. But the teleological argument deals more with the argument from design, and it seeks to prove through the improbable complexities of the universe, that there had to be a divine designer behind it. That's, in a nutshell, the idea behind the teleological argument. However, what I would say is the greatest argument for the Christian faith is the life of the Christian. I remember the British evangelist Gypsy Smith. He once said, there are 5 gospels. Now, if you know your scriptures, you should know that something's wrong with that quote already. But he said there are 5 gospels. There's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then the 5th one is you. Most people won't read the first 4, but they will read you. And so however they see you acting and serving as an ambassador of Christ, then that's how they will view Christianity, rightly or wrongly. That's oftentimes how people view it. Michael Green once said that Christianity is enshrined in the life and proclaimed in the lips. It is our lives, how we live, how we move with one another, that really speaks to what we believe and how we should treat one another. And it's our lips that proclaim, again, what he said, what we believe. Oftentimes in apologetics, we talk about different types of arguments, and sometimes because of personal preferences, like I said, some of us love science more, so you might focus more on the cosmological or the teleological argument. But Jesus said something in John that was particularly relevant for all Christians. Because through apologetics, what we're essentially trying to do is get someone to see the truth, the beauty, and the goodness of the Christian faith, all in the purpose, for the sole purpose of believing and placing their faith in him. But he said there, by this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, by the love that you have for one another. So we can go through all the different arguments, but if they're seeing that we don't love one another, then why would anyone ever want to be a part of Christianity? So love is what should proceed from us and be our posture no matter what. So what is the greatest argument for the Christian faith? Certainly there are a lot of arguments that help us to more see the viability and the truthfulness of the Christian faith. But I would say make sure that these arguments aren't more important than the life that you live and how you're showing what you actually believe and who you've placed your faith and your trust in.
Thanks for watching Everyday Theology. If you would like more of our content or to continue to engage in our discussions, make sure that you hit the subscribe button.